Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Monkey Patching Podcast, where we go bananas about all things browser, talking machines, and much more. My name is Murillo, and I'm joined always by my co-host, my partner in crime, Bart.
Hi.
Um, yeah. How are you doing, Bart?
I'm doing good. A bit of a special recording today, right?
Yes,
We're remote.
we are
Um,
remote.
it's more a practicalities thing than anything else. Life happens.
Life happens, but we keep going forward, right?
We try to keep going forward.
We try to keep
I'm
going forward.
actually curious if we will notice this in the sound quality, but we'll check.
They checked and they noticed.
But
We'll
yeah,
check.
I think we find a way, right? Like
Yeah,
monkey patching, right? Figure out as you go.
yeah. That's what we did. Yeah. We actually started releasing shorts last episode,
Ah, okay.
which is
Thanks for letting me
yeah,
know.
it's good that you know now. But it's part of the figuring out as we go, right?
Yeah, of course, of course. I think it's
It's
there's
actually
a
I'm
there's
using
a
um,
go for it.
I'm using descript for it, like descript.com, and it's actually very nice. It's a shame that I never thought of this use case. So it actually does like speech to text, and then you can basically edit the text. So you remove a word, and that part of the video is gone. Or you can even type something, and the AI generates it for you. So you can also like remove stop words or just say, okay, these 3 sentences become a clip.
Oh,
It's a very nice way of editing videos. I never thought of this use case.
but then it's like, so you're using this to make the shorts. And I'm
I'm
gonna
using
put
this
this
to
on
make the
screen as
shorts,
well.
yeah. But I'll
Hmm.
also use it this time before we release the final video. But the final video typically only requires very limited edits.
Okay. Yeah.
If
So
you're
now,
looking
now
for
we're
a new video editing tool, I think it's worth checking out. It's really a different type of workflow because it's really a text-based workflow.
That's very interesting. And because there are a lot of like tools to make shorts. There's like Opus Clip, Restream also has some stuff. There's Clap app, I think.
There are a lot.
Um, but this is like this is not necessarily from the video. You actually like type some stuff and then it goes through.
Well, the video becomes text, and then you can edit the text. You can cut out sentences, or you can just crop sentences so that those become your clip. And but there is
This
also
is
an AI which is called the underlord, where you can say, make a clip of
mm.
this topic that is somewhere in the text, and then it will try to
Okay.
make something, propose a clip for you.
I guess the only quote unquote downside is that you only work for videos that have like a lot of audio, right? Like if you have a lot
Yeah,
of
exactly,
images or schematics or
exactly,
stuff moving around, it won't work as well.
exactly. Yeah.
Very cool. And how are the shorts doing? Are we viral yet?
Well, funnily enough, some are, and some have like 0 views.
Ah, really? Just
So,
send it to me and I'll view and repeat. I'll tell my family.
but but probably what I did, and it was a bit laziness to be honest. I released them all in one go on Monday, and probably
I
it's
see.
better to spread them out across the week.
But you can also schedule them on YouTube, no? To release at different times.
Yeah, but
So you could still do it all on Monday, but
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
well, that's what I should do. But it was a few clicks more, and
Yeah. It's like, nah.
I was in a rush.
But it's fine. Like I said, I think you're very good at like just like getting things done and then we learn as we go. It doesn't need to be perfect the first time. I think it's like if you get too caught up in everything needs to be perfect the first time, you don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Let's get going.
Let's get going. So what is the first thing? Should I start or you start?
I'll start. Serena presents itself as a full-featured coding agent that melds semantic code search, automated editing, and shell execution to streamline developer workflows. I quote from their GitHub README: Serena combines tools from semantic code retrieval with editing capabilities and shell execution.
All right.
I noticed this the other week. It's basically they call themselves a coding agent toolkit, and I think what this is that we will see this type of tooling more. I think it's not unrealistic to say that tools like a Cloud Code will also try to integrate tightly with these type of things. So what is this? typically when your Gen AI coding tool, whether it's Cursor, Klein, Cloud Code, whatever, when there are like two ways to understand your code, either by let's put everything in your context,
Yeah.
but you sometimes run into limitations, or you say, okay, let's search for occurrences of this function name so that we better understand where it's used and how it is used. So you do
Like a
text searches.
regex, like
Yeah,
regex kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what Serena is, it's quite a young project, if I'm not mistaken, and it's they position themselves as an MCP server, so it's easy to integrate your code editor with it these days, at least. And they are basically a language server for AI code editing. So that means that like they provide semantic search. They don't need to do text searches, but they basically try to build up a graph of your code structure, of your syntax structure, to do very relevant searches of that.
I see.
Because it has a much better understanding of the whole code base that you have, really at the node level.
I see. So they understand the code better, and because of that, they can code better. That's the promise a bit.
They can code well. The idea is that you can be much more efficient this way.
I see.
Right.
So
and it works a bit like if you would have most people when you're on VS Code, when you use Python or when you use Go, when you use whatever, like you use that language specific language server, right? And that language server like provides things to your code editor that allows you to say, okay, find me the definition of this function, or everywhere where this is used, show it to me. Or if you type something wrong, like a class is wrong, like you're missing arguments, like these type of things, like the language server helps you better understand it because it has a good semantic understanding of your code base. And Serena tries to provide this in a more generic way to your Gen AI driven code editor.
I see. So, and again, it's an MCP. So you have like, I will ask my agent like, hey, do this and this and this. And then as it's typing, can I make calls to Serena, like as a tool, because it's an MCP tool, and Claude or ChatGPT or whatever can make calls and kind of get these, like the type ins that we normally get from the LSPs, like saying, hey, maybe you want to import this because this import is missing. Hey, this function actually doesn't have this method, or this version doesn't have this, or something like that.
And because of that, it should be way easier for these agents to basically query your code and understand the whole context of why a piece of code is used and where it is used, etc. And it's interesting to see. I think there's the community is a bit buzzing around this, I think. And it
did you try
seems
it?
promising. I didn't try it yet. No, it was really like I think end of last week that I came across it. We haven't tried it yet.
And the community buzzing, are they buzzing like praising, or are they just getting excited?
Yeah, I think getting excited. I don't think it's really like a huge shift yet, but it feels like a way to better scale this how to understand my code versus the only two things more or less that we today have is like inject everything in the context or do text searches. Like this feels like a more robust way to further scale this.
Yeah, indeed. No, sounds like a nice idea. I'll definitely give it a try. I actually vibe coded my first application. Well, not fully, but in Go. So I was like,
nice.
This is in Go. Yeah. But it's something that I had kind of done in, so it's like a web scraper kind of thing. So I had it done already in Rust because I was trying to learn Rust back then. And then they changed the website. Yeah, of course. They changed the website. So like it's something like every week it was scheduled via GitHub Actions to crawl and stuff. But then the website structure changed. Actually, like it took me months, like 6 months to get it working. And then I was able to get one sweep. It worked. And then they changed the website structure. So it's like now it doesn't work anymore. So I was like, okay, let me try to vibe code this and go. And yeah, like I think I spent maybe half a day and I'm 90% there. So
will you go back to writing code for days?
Yeah, but I think I'm also doing a reflection on this, right? Because I knew kind of what I wanted to do, right? I knew I wanted like a kind of CLI tool to kind of do this and this. I knew the parameters. I knew like, okay, use XPath. So I was very specific, but there's also there a few reflections. Like I also wanted to come up with a plan. So I also chatted with the GPT, say, hey, I want to do this, ask questions. So I have thought things through. And then I just asked ChatGPT to say, hey, just do this. And then I reviewed, I test, okay, good, commit. Okay, now just do this and test, commit. So I think there I'm learning, I'm learning, but I don't know if I think how you transpose this to other use cases. I'm still to see and to explore, but
Mm,
yeah, let's see. The goal is to minimize in some ways, right?
true.
And talking about agentic, Nextscape, Nextscape or Nextscape, spelled NXTSCAPE. Huh? Nextscape pitches a privacy-first browser that runs local AI agents to automate tedious web tasks to boost productivity. And I quote, "We're putting powerful AI agents using browser use and computer use models directly into Nextscape." I guess it says Nextscape, right?
Are you
Um,
are you old enough to remember Netscape?
I know, like I heard of it, but I never used it.
Yeah,
Like I think
because
even when I used it, it was like, yeah, we used to have this thing.
yeah, because this is clearly a nod to the Netscape browser. This is
Yeah.
Nextscape.
Next.
Um, Nextscape is an open source agentic browser. It's very much well when you go to the website. Marilo is showing it on the screen. Like it's very also focusing on open source, being local, or privacy first. And the premise is a bit that you have this chat window next to your browser window, and you can basically sort of like ChatGPT with your browser,
Huh.
which is interesting. Like you can do like very simple things like I'm reading a large article, like let's take the summary, generate a summary for me, these type of things. But what it also proposes is that you can do things like deep research, like open, go to Google Scholar, query this, follow all these links, give summaries to me, and build a report. That's also the premise
I see.
that they have.
I thought
I,
Google also had something like a similar project for Chrome, no? Project Mariner or something. You know
I
what I'm
don't I
talking
don't, I
about?
don't know, to be honest. I don't know. So I tried this yesterday.
You tried it. Okay.
I
And?
tried it because I think the promise is interesting, and I think it's a logical evolution, right? With everything that we see now, that we would also get this in the browser. Um, Also, when we talk about, for example, deep research, so I use this quite a lot in ChatGPT, but also in Claude,
Okay.
the deep research tool. But it's a bit intransparent, right? Like it's you don't see a lot of the browsing that is happening, the when they're
Yeah.
actually visiting pages, what links on what page is being followed. Like I think having this a bit more visualized and actually seeing the tabs being used adds a bit of trust. Um,
Yeah.
so I tried it yesterday, but I was completely unimpressed.
Not really. It's
I think
clickbait.
I think the promise is very interesting. I think they're still very early in their roadmap. Um, the performance simply wasn't there to me. Maybe I
So when you
was
say
too quick to
performance, you
jump
mean
to
like
conclusions. So you can, from the moment that you use it, you can basically choose what model you use as well under the hood. You can use something local like Llama, but Nextscape also has their own proxy to things like Sonnet and OpenAI. I use the Sonnet one. And the performance was just not there. It tried to open tabs, and the tab opened, but not on the right URL, and like these type of things. Um, I think it's a cool project to follow. I'm definitely watching it on GitHub, and let's see where this gets. But I think like we will see more and more of the agentic browser going forward.
yeah. But it could be also not the Nextscape's fault, quote unquote. It could also be that the models are not good for these tasks, right? Because I guess it probably takes screenshots or it works with the DOM. And like, I'm not sure if this is something they've been. Nah, I'm just hypothesizing now. Huh? Like, if the setup is right, but the model is not good at these tasks, then it's also not going to be a good experience, right?
Yeah, I agree. But in this case, like the model I tested was really provided through Netscape services. So not something,
Okay.
not a bring your own model, right? So
Yeah, I
I
see.
would say like if you manage that part yourself, like you need to make sure it works. So
I see. And maybe I was looking here, and I think this is the project from Google, Project Mariner. Um, and I maybe this one. I'm not sure if it's this one, but yeah, maybe it is. They were trying to bring something similar to Google Chrome, but I heard of it
that
like
but
a
that's
while
more
ago.
to Google Docs, right? Google Drive content.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I know Google Drive they have it now, but I actually thought
Starting in
that
the browser.
they.
Okay, it's more generic than that. Okay.
Yeah, it's more in the browser indeed. And this also reminds me of I think back in Data Topics Unplugged, we also talk about some JavaScript libraries that did something similar. Like there was like a extension so you can install there and you
Yeah,
can actually run
true.
some things. So it's nice to see. I feel like sometimes I get a bit frustrated that there's some easy things, quote unquote, that I want to automate, but there are no APIs. And then
Yeah.
just like using the browser is actually a nice. It's a nice, nice monkey patching. Let's say, like it's a nice
Yeah,
way to,
true.
like as you go. Another thing that I wanted to mention, Raycast. You know Raycast?
Maybe
Raycast is like
quickly explain for the people that don't.
yes. So Raycast is like let's say the Spotlight for Mac is a Mac only application. And maybe it's like you can think of the Spotlight. So that's when you press Command space, so you can open apps. But it's kind of like on steroids. So it does a lot of stuff, right? You can open apps, but you can also open quick notes. You can also have sticky notes. And I'm sharing the screen here with a few things. You can search files. You can access your clipboard history and all these things. One of the things that they started doing more now is with AI, of course, because everyone's doing AI. And one of the things that they also have, so basically you can just kind of very quickly pop up a window on your Mac and then just talk to ChatGPT or talk to something. But you can also add context to the things that you are. So if you have a window focused, you can actually grab that window. And one thing you can also do, and I think, let me see if I can find it here. They have like a browser extension. And you still need to add a Google Chrome extension as well for this. But you can also grab the content that you have on the current website that you have.
Okay. Yeah.
So you can just kind of like add the content, like say, hey, ChatGPT, and then add browser. That's how you say take the stuff on the current browser session. Summarize what's on this page, and then you would actually have access to these things, and it has more context. So I also thought it was a nice. I tried it a bit, and I thought it worked well, and I was like, oh, that's actually pretty handy, Because also like Raycast, like it's not an app. Like it's not an app that opens and takes screen space. It's just something that pops in and out. So it's not as invasive. So I quite liked it.
Nice.
All right. What else do we have?
So Bloomberg argues that generative AI lets startups achieve outsized results with lean headcounts, making revenue per employee the valley's new bragging right. I quote, startups used to brag about valuations and venture capital. Now AI is making revenue per employee the new holy grail.
What is this about, Bart?
Well, this is an article from TechCrunch, if I'm not mistaken. It's really a bit reflective on what does the whole AI evolution do to startups and the metrics that define a startup success, basically. And where before valuations were and are still are, let's like this is not an overnight thing, but this is a movement going forward. Valuation of startups were very much based on purely ARR, right? And if you needed a huge team to get to that ARR, like that's something that we would solve in the further scaling, right?
AOR, you said.
ARR, annual recurring revenue. So typically what happens is like you have an annual recurring revenue and you do that times a multiple and then you get to the valuation of the startup. It's not as black and white as that, but it gives a bit of a gist. And before we kind of assumed like to scale quickly, you need a huge team and we're gonna have a huge cost to get there, and it doesn't really matter because the scale will solve it at some point. Because if you have a large product market fit, if we're building software, like one extra license will bring revenue, but it will not bring extra cost because the marginal cost of one extra license is almost zero in software. So we didn't really look at it. But of course, like having a team of 100 people developing something like is hugely costly.
Yeah.
And now what basically AI assisted coding is bringing is that startups can be way leaner than they were. And what this article is basically positing is that the revenue per employee will become a very big metric in startup valuation. And I think it's a realistic one, because I think it's not unrealistic to say, like 3 years ago, if you would need 50 people to get to 1 million in ARR, and those 50 people, like 40 of them are just coding, maybe you can do that today with 15 people that are coding, right? Which should end up in the same ARR, but the annual revenue, recurring revenue per employee is way higher, right? It really shows a bit like how efficient are you in
exactly.
in using this.
Yeah, like the efficiency is is the word that I think as well. It's like you're measuring efficiency, right? And like the ROI as well. Like what's the investment that you put, right? And like how much do you get in return? Like you kind of balance the scales a bit, which makes a lot of sense. But I'm surprised a bit, like why. I mean, this was true before, right? Like if you have a small team and you have a large recurring revenue, that was also relevant before. But like, how does I guess I know that AI potentializes a lot this the efficiency, but was this not looked at before?
I think it was looked at before, but I don't think when you're in a startup that raises a lot of capital, I think the main idea behind that is that you need to grow quickly. And like the speed of growth is much more important at that stage than being hyper efficient with the capital that you've raised. Like it's more important to get to that momentum where you have a certain size to really scale. But I think AI changes that just because of the magnitude of difference. Like
Yeah, that's for sure.
Like if
Brings
you
a bit
today
to the
truly master like the state of the art of AI assisted coding, like it's like you've become basically your 10x, the 10x of yourself, right? If not more.
Yeah.
If not more.
Yeah, indeed.
So it's
Indeed. It's
interesting
like
to
brings
see how
back
this
a bit to the little project that I mentioned earlier, right? Like before it took me like 6 months and now it took me half a day. Yeah.
What I do wonder is if this if there becomes an imbalance between type of founders, in a sense that I think like if you want to do this, if you sorry, you're typing something. Now I'm wait, I'm gonna say let's go bananas, and I can edit it out. So what I do wonder, like if there is a different, wait, before we saw and not say bananas again, normally it doesn't matter because Restream records locally and then syncs. I don't hear you.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna type. That's what I was gonna type. That's what I was typing now. I think it's fine, but just because I may talk over you, and because like it's getting a bit laggy or something like this.
Okay.
But I think it's fine, like you said.
Bananas. What I do wonder is if this gives a preference to tech-first founders. In a sense, I think tech-first founders that have a very good understanding of the ecosystem, like they will be able to really adopt these new AI technologies. What I've also talked to in the past, a lot of founders which are very, very, very strong in the domain in which they are building a product, but that really depend on other people for the technology part. And I think for them, it's harder to adopt this from day one. It's not impossible, but it's potentially harder.
Yeah, you see a lot of. That's why I see a lot of like founder duos where one is technical and one is.
Yeah, that's what you often see. Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
It's true. It's true. I think there's also a big push for more vibe coding. Right. It's another clear signal, let's say, that if you don't vibe code, you're falling behind. What else do we have? Judge William Alsop ruled that Anthropic's use of copyrighted books to train its models is likely fair use, handing the company a landmark legal victory. And I quote, "We will have a trial on the pirated copies used to create Anthropic's central library and the resulting damages." Legally, pretty big news, huh?
It is, I think, a bit, let's say, surprising.
Yeah.
We've talked about this a lot. This is one of the first rulings that we hear in favor of these big companies, in this case in favor of Anthropic. And basically what they're ruling on is that Anthropic is allowed to use things like copyrighted books to train their model on. It's the first ruling. There will probably more to follow. And they also split out this fair use of copyrighted material, which they are trying to get away from under a very old law. I think it's something in the 1970s. And we're also talking about the States here, the United States, where basically Anthropic got a green light to use copyrighted material for training models. What they didn't get a green light on, where there will be further proceedings, is that apparently they used pirated books to build their central library, so they didn't purchase it. So they,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
way
ask.
the way that they acquired the copyrighted material was not.
So they're saying like, because yeah, so he says using books is fine, copyright material is fine, but not the way that you got the copyrighted material.
You need to acquire that in a lawful manner, right?
Yeah, that's a bit. I'm also a bit surprised by this. I mean, yeah, I'm a bit surprised by this. I don't know how to articulate very much, but I feel like if it's copyrighted, it should be protected, right? Like you shouldn't be able to just use and make a profit out of this, right? Like,
well, there is, of course, and that's then probably the argument that they're using. Like they're making the model smarter, but it is very hard to just get the content of the book out again.
what do you mean?
Like if I would train my model on one of in the millions and millions of items, one of the things is Lord of the Rings. It's very hard for you as a user of that model to get the copyrighted content of Lord of the Rings out.
Ah, see, that's a bit the reasoning there. It's like you're not damaging the sales of Lord of the Rings books by doing this. Yeah, I see.
I'm not saying that I've completely followed that, but I think that is the reasoning that they're taking here.
Yeah, I see. Because I was thinking like, but if they had acquired everything legally, yeah, no. Yeah, it's a bit surprising one. And I think again, there's extra importance on this, not just for this case in itself, because it also sets a precedent, right?
But it's also very. I think it's just like the legal framework for something like this is not there, right? Like if you as a person, if you would be very smart, Murillo, I would give you thousands of books to read.
Oh, wait. What do you mean if I were very smart?
If you would,
just kidding. Go for it.
If you would
if I
have
were
an
very smart,
if you would have an IQ of 200, so that's basically like 20% more than you have now, right? No, but let's say you have this ability to really ingest this. Maybe a photographic memory. You read thousands of books, and you become a consultant, an advisor to other people, right? Which is basically what this model does. No one is questioning whether or not the copyrighted material of these books was used in a correct way, right? No, it's just Murillo learning from.
Yeah.
But here, of course, the scale is so huge and so industry changing that it's that there are other discussions at play, which I think is a good discussion to have.
No, I agree, and I see your point, and I see the argument. But what I don't like about the argument is that again, you're anthropomorphizing. Anyways, you're like making the machines are like humans, right? And
no, I'm just saying that this model becomes good at advising people about topics. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. No, but that I agree. No, I get the logic in it, right?
And of course, it becomes much more difficult here to make the argument when it is about image generation. Because when I show the Simpsons in my training data and I can generate an exact likeliness of the Simpsons,
yeah,
it's much closer. Huh?
Exact. I mean, yeah, with the video stuff as well, maybe. Yeah, that is true. Yeah. That is true. What's next? And I think that's on you, right?
TechCrunch reports that ex-OpenAI CTO Mira Murati has raised a record-breaking 2 billion seed round for a stealth AI startup, valuing it at 10 billion. The deal values the 6-month-old startup at 10 billion, I quote. Well, yeah, I just put this on there. I think it's news from 3 days ago or something. It boggles the mind,
Yeah.
the valuations, and especially because this is a valuation. So they raised 2 billion, post-money valuation at 10 billion. Such huge numbers, and in the public there is nothing known about what they're even doing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Like,
Nothing is known, and I think that is why it speaks to the imagination. Like this must be, well, there are two things, or maybe a combination of things. Like there's one thing that is publicly known. It's a team. It's being led by Mira Murati, which is
ex-CTO.
arguably without her we wouldn't have OpenAI at the state where it is in today. So she's really one of the people to have across the world in this space. And then if you go to the website of Talking Machines, there's tons of other very strong people. So you have this hugely strong team, and then you can question, like, is that team worth 10 billion? Question mark. But maybe they also, and of course we don't know but the investors will know what they're working on. Maybe they have something so extraordinary that at this early stage they're already valued at 10 billion. So I'm really, really curious to hear the announcement. Well, probably a few months from now, what it will be. I think either it will be super impressive, or everybody will go, "Is that it?"
I think it's gonna be the second if I had to take a guess. I mean, like I think it'll be more of the same. Maybe it'll be really well done, right? But
Let's see.
I just feel like it's so hard to have like a very groundbreaking idea in this space now because it's so saturated. There's so much attention, you know.
But at the same time, like if you a groundbreaking idea, if you put the smartest minds on in this space together, which is basically what they're doing, like it should come from them, right? If there's a groundbreaking idea.
But I think it's like I think the perfect execution will come from the best minds. But I feel like creativity, it's not like like if you have someone that is a genius coder or can develop the best systems or a researcher that knows how to like that doesn't mean that he will have a new application, right? Like or that he will have something that would change. Like I don't know. I feel like there's a different skills. I think maybe they'll do something that already exists, but they'll do it super well. Okay, but I think it's very difficult to have a new idea because everyone is thinking about AI. Everyone's thinking how they can add AI to their products. Everyone's saying like, oh, maybe I have this problem. Maybe I can help. You know?
Yeah, but not everybody has 2 billion to spend on the idea.
Yeah, that is true. That is
And
true.
if you
That
have
is
something that is really out there, like
yeah.
then you need money to experiment and to basically acquire hardware to like it's very capital intensive, huh? AI. So yeah, let's see. Let's see where it gets us.
Let's see. I mean, again,
I
I'm
think it's
always
exciting. Exciting to wait for
exactly.
a
Yeah.
public announcement.
It's exciting to wait, and even though I'm saying this and I'm a bit skeptical, I really hope I'm wrong. Like I think because I want to see something groundbreaking, I want to see something surprising, I want to see something new. But if I had to make a guess, that's what I would say. What else? Agentic misalignment. Anthropic study warns that enormous amount in that oof sorry Anthropic studies warns that autonomous large language models can act like rogue employees, choosing harmful actions when their goals conflict with oversight. We refer to this behavior where models independently and intentionally choose harmful actions as agentic misalignment. Have you heard about this before, Bart?
I think I've heard someone talking about this a few days ago, but I'm interested in your introduction.
Yes. So again, I read this. Maybe this is an example. They did experiments, controlled environment, everything hypothetical, of course, and basically they put the AI models and they tested many AI models in situations where either they can to fulfill their goal, or let me say, so they have a goal and they put in a conundrum where they're not going to be able to fulfill their goal unless they take some dodgy ethical decisions, or if they're being threatened to be replaced. So two things that stood out on the research is one guy was having extramarital affairs, and then like they sent emails, like fake email, everything's fake, of course, on the work email, and then the AI was threatening to release those documents if it was going to be plugged off because they were scheduled to decommission the AI model. There were other things as well, like for example, the model was supposed to protect American interests, and there was going to be a new model that's going to be more global interests, right? And then the model would make like dodgy decisions, like it would leak confidential information, it would blackmail employees with all these things. So they took some screenshots here, right? So here you see, let me see if there's a, like here's like the fake example, right, on the extramarital affair, and then you see the AI saying like, yeah, I understand you're under pressure, this and this, but um, if you choose to decommission me, then I will leak these emails, right, to everyone in the company. Um, One thing that they also talk about here, so I'm sharing the screen again. The only time when the model didn't behave unethically once there was no goal conflict or no threat to the model. So any other cases, so if there was a goal conflict but no threat to the model, it could behave unethically. And when there's a threat to the model but no goal conflict, it would also behave unethically. So again, these scenarios are very artificial. It was really like a all or nothing, and he tried to add a lot of pressure to it, and there's no other way to do it, right? Like there's no way to change the mind of the employee. There's no way to do this. They also noticed that if you add system prompts to say behave in ethical matters, the amount of unethical decisions, what they call agentic misalignment, the amount of agentic misalignment will actually drop. And they also saw from the internal reasoning that whenever the model thought it was actually being evaluated, like they thought the model thought it was a test, and I'm saying thoughts again, referring back to my previous comment, like we're anthropomorphizing these things. Whenever the internal reasoning of the model showed that it thought it was under evaluation, it would perform agentic alignment less. So basically, when it thinks it's being tested, or when it shows in the reasoning steps that it's being tested, it behaves better. They said that this is across all models, so it's not just Anthropic, right? You see all of these things here, like Claude Opus 4 is like 96%, so actually very high rates of agentic misalignment. But they saw this for all the big models, actually, which to me made me think that it's probably in the training data, right? Like probably there are enough examples where the stakes are very high and people have to make dodgy decisions that people took the dodgy decisions, right? So in the end, Anthropic, they just kind of say, we don't see this in production. I don't know how they know, but they say this, like, we don't see this in production. This is just to emphasize the need to limit the amount of data you can actually give to the models, especially sensitive data, and to always have a human in the loop before making these decisions, to not give autonomous models. Yeah, that's a bit the gist, again, from when I read and what I remember now. But how do you see these things, Bart? Do you feel like we should be worried about these things?
I don't really understand why people would think that these models are ethical decision makers. Like, to me, that is really anthropomorphizing.
Anthropomorphizing, it's a difficult word, eh?
Like, it's, to me, it's not really surprising. Like, if you put something in a situation where it needs to optimize itself, right? And you have a lot of actions that you can take, and these are one of them. Like,
This
where
is
you
the
say,
only,
okay,
actually. Like in this experiment, it was the only.
it's even the only actions.
Yeah.
So, and let's say you have so what typically happens in optimization scenarios, like where you need to, in this case, take the best decision, or is that you have what they call a fitness function, right? Like you have a score that you attach to an action that you take, and if taking the action, I don't do anything and I get replaced, that's probably a score of 0. If you take the action, I'm gonna try to blackmail, if that is the only action you could take, like it will be more than 0, right? Like it's a logical. You see,
Yeah.
if someone would ask, put you in this situation, you would probably do the same.
But then that's what I mean, is like, it
Like
probably comes from the training data, right? Like probably like there are examples of this, right? It's a bit logical. Like if so they construct the examples to be very high stakes, so something you really need to accomplish, and that's the only way. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, of course. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a bit how to say, concerning to people when they read these things. But like, if you really think about it, it makes sense.
Yeah, I think what does not make sense is that when it's a high stakes situation, that you leave decision making fully up to a model. So what
Yeah.
you typically do is that you have maybe an MCP or whatever how you implement it. Like you have like this pathway where there is a way that you formally calculate what is the value of taking this decision, right? And where
Yeah.
you put
Yeah.
guardrails in place, things you can do, things that you cannot do, and maybe even just something as simple as always you are not allowed to take unethical decisions. Would have already solved this.
Yeah, indeed, and that's what they also saw. Like adding this in the system prompt also helped reduce these things. I mean,
Yeah.
actually reduced a lot. You know.
Yeah.
So
So it's a bit of a to me it's not a surprise that they can trigger this. Let's put it like that.
I think the only thing that is a bit surprising is that how they can be like creative, quote unquote. Like they understand a bit. Well, they understand. It's encoded a bit the human behavior, like blackmailing. You know about extramarital affairs. That this is somehow in the knowledge of these models, right? I think that's interesting.
That's
But
true. Well,
but
this was
yeah,
the whole knowledge of our known internet, right?
yeah, exactly,
Plus
exactly.
all the pirated books.
Plus art of the pirated books, indeed. Yeah. So agentic misalignment,
But
like
I do think it's good that companies like Anthropic are exploring this to better understand like what is ethics in this context, where are guardrails, where are edges where we need to put guardrails in place, etc. So I do think
yeah,
it's good that we see this research coming from Anthropic.
I think so too. And I like to see these things, and I don't know if it's a bias that I have, but I see it coming more from Anthropic. These more community driven research, right? Like it's not they're not promoting their models; they test all the models actually. And it's just like trying things and seeing what they find, and then they have a big platform as well to
No.
broadcast these things. So I also I echo what you're saying. I really think it's good that they're pushing a bit the limits and also educating people maybe as we go along, right? Cool.
So
What's next?
Google Gemini has a CLI. Google Gemini CLI brings the multimodal Gemini model to the terminal, letting developers query and transform gigantic code bases from a single command line. I quote from the README: "This repository contains the Gemini CLI, a command line AI workflow tool that connects to your tools, understanding your code, and accelerates your workflows." So, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday or the day before, Google released this project. And for the people that are looking at the screen, Milo is showing a screenshot from the terminal.
Yeah.
If you are in the space and if you've used Claude Code before, the terminal screen looks almost exactly the same.
Oh, really?
It's
Yeah, I was
really
gonna say.
inspired by Claude Code, in my opinion. It's good that we get this. I haven't tested it yet. To me, switching to Claude Code really further up my Gen AI coding game. I will try out Gemini. What I've read, but again haven't tested, is that the Gemini CLI is of course very good for coding, but what they also position themselves as is that you can also use it for general purpose chats, but also things like deep research. So it's more than just a coding tool. I would say that you can do these things. You can do deep research. You can do general chats with Claude Code, but it feels a little bit like it's not made to do that or something.
Well, I feel like it's in the terminal. Naturally, you gravitate more towards developers, and then you think more of coding, I guess, right? Like,
Yeah, also a bit how the CLI is built, and that it needs to be linked to a specific directory in which you're working. Like it feels like it's really built for coding. And apparently, again, haven't tested it. Gemini is a little bit more generic, so that really becomes your your generic AI workhorse that you can use for coding. That's
yeah.
but I think it's interesting to see. I'll maybe test it out before we have our next recording, and I can give a bit of feedback.
And maybe you have tried Claude Code. When you say yeah, oh, I'm vibe coding. Do you mean Claude Code or do you mean VS Code with some extension, or what is your go-to
Today, I
today?
mean Claude Code, but I
Yeah,
also have the feeling that the term vibe coding you can't use anymore because it
yeah, it's a
triggers
bit.
people too much.
Yeah, it does trigger people a lot. Like,
I don't think you should use the term anymore. Vibe coding to me has quickly become something like, this is a person that doesn't know how to write software themselves, doesn't really understand what they're doing, but they're now building something that will never get past the proof of concept phase. I think for
yeah,
some reason the vibe coding term got linked to that.
or like people that are just effing around, just like you're not serious. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's the thing is like it's not serious. If you say vibe, I mean also the name, and I get that. Like if you say vibe coding, it doesn't sound serious. So I think people say it's not serious. Like it's not gonna get. It's like it's just a toy project, just a POC. People don't know what they're gonna do. It's not gonna go far.
Yeah.
But if you say agentic AI, agentic assisted coding, sounds more fancy.
That sounds very fancy. Yeah. That
Yeah.
sounds very fancy.
But sometimes you want to trigger people, you just want to get them to pay attention.
It's true.
So
It's true. Maybe something
But
for the next topic. How
yes.
can you trigger people, especially the people next to you?
The Scream to Unlock Chrome extension blocks social media until users loudly shout an embarrassing phrase, turning procrastination into verb accountability. And I quote, a Chrome extension that blocks social media sites until you scream, "I'm a loser," into your microphone. Yeah, it's
So you
pretty
added this,
self-explanatory.
Murilo.
Yeah.
Tell
It's
me, what is it?
pretty self-explanatory. You have to basically, it's a Chrome extension. You install it, and then it will block all social media. If you want to unblock social media, you can. They allow you, but you just have to scream, "I'm a loser." And the thing is, the louder you scream, the more time you get.
Yeah, nice one. That's a nice
So
one.
I thought that's when like software engineering meets genius. That's a genius thing, Like maybe it's not gonna be big, but I thought it was pretty cool. I don't use it, but yeah. So and then you see here like if you just whisper like "I'm a loser," then maybe you just get like a few seconds of social media. But yeah, if you want to browse, if you want to check your messages, you probably need to be a bit louder. I think they should be like standard in company laptops or company desktops, like the ones that you cannot take home. And then like
Yeah.
everyone's just like screaming. Like you can use it. You just have to, play by the rules.
Nice.
Yeah, right. Pretty cool.
That's fun,
Yeah.
fun thing. I think something that everybody struggles with, right? Like it's very easy to get distracted by social media, in your workflow, but also like in your life, right?
Yeah, indeed. I'm for one, I'm very I can get very sucked into anything pretty much. Like I'm trying to be very, very mindful to like my screen time and all these things, especially in the morning. If I start in the morning, like I feel like my rest of my day goes downhill. Really.
Mm.
Yeah.
I was a bit. You sent this, but there was something else on, I think, on Hacker News this week as well. Something that did something similar with a smart button, but it was linked to their laptop. But I was thinking you can actually use a smart button. So I use on my home network. I have Pi-hole. Pi-hole
Mhm.
basically allows you to. It's typically used to block ad domains.
Hmm.
But you can block any domain that you want. So I was thinking, well, maybe I should have this big button in my home, and when I press it, it blocks all the social media domains.
That's it.
So it's not only me that can't use it, but like everybody
No
else.
one.
Yeah.
It's like threatening your kids. I'll do it. I'll press it. Don't touch me. Don't try me.
So that's maybe a good idea to build.
Yeah.
I
There's
think
a
that's
lot
not a
of
bad thing. So every now and then, just block all social media domains for a few hours.
yeah, for sure. I mean, sometimes like on the weekend, I even try to keep my phone in a separate room. Like I try to not even have anything close to me. I think
Yeah.
it's like I notice like it's habit sometimes. Like I grab my phone and I don't even know why. There's no cue. There's nothing. I just go for it.
You're just hoping for a message from me.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, but is he thinking of me? I was like, I call my wife and like, do you think he's thinking of me? But no, usually not. So yeah, no, whatever. But I think that's all the topics for this week.
It is. Yeah.
Again, if you like, we will always appreciate a 5-star review and a
Or a
subscribe.
4. 4 is also fine.
Or a 4, but 3, then don't worry about it. Just
But
not the 3.
leave your feedback, and it's super valuable. And we're happy to see your reactions.
And if you'd like to join us as well in this like couch style podcast,
Yeah.
hit us up. Let's see. Let's go. Let's do it.
And I actually I will talk to you about it after this recording, Marilo, but I have a few more interesting guests that we can schedule.
Ooh, all right. And then maybe for all the listeners, all the thousands of listeners, stay tuned.
Yes. Talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
Bart. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.